This video today is going to be mostly about the veil. And in Christianity, they talk about the veil between this reality that we live in and the, just the other reality. And of course, there's many different other realities, but we're generally stuck in this reality and we aren't able to detect any other realities. Sometimes we rely upon inspiration or intuition to give us a little bit of guide, and we may think that that's God, angels, our former self, whatever we may think it is. It's coming from a different place. Now, I suppose some would think it's coming from deep inside the mind that is typically unaware or unconscious. But in fact, it is coming from another place, because I don't want to go down the road of enlightenment particularly, but I'll touch upon it. And what I mean by that is this physical reality isn't real. It's utterly empty of any substance that would be considered alive, or even beyond the cognition of a computer, for God's sakes, which is like totally uncomparable to a living human being. So what I'm getting at is this physical reality that we live in. We think we are here. We think we are alive. We think there's a brain that thinks. But there's nothing here. It is totally vacant and void. You know how we talk about in spirituality, we say Brahman is the great nothingness from which everything appears. And we constantly say that it is unorganized nothingness. And all these things are true sayings, but notice how it at least is identifying that there is something, whatever that something is, that emanates from that nothingness, creates this reality that we are in. But this reality we are in is like if you look at a shadow of yourself, and when I say you're standing in the sun and you're looking on the ground and you're looking at a shadow, and you're trying to talk to that shadow, and you're saying, well, what do you think of what's going on? The shadow doesn't get its information from you. In other words, it isn't praying, it isn't looking for intuition, it's the voidness of the light that is everywhere else. That's all it is. It is an absolute whole in something, meaning there's sunlight, the shadow is nothing. This physical reality is like the shadow. There's nothing here. It's completely and utterly void of anything that is in fact alive. It's not even a reflection. It's a shadow. So when I speak of the veil, what's happening is, when we talk about veils, notice how in Judaism, Christianity, they always talk about the veil, but in terms of it being more of a curtain or a thick brick wall that's lead lined and there's no way to see through it and stuff. or that you have to cut the veil to be able to see to the other side. All of these things are taught that way, but that's not the way the veil is. It's like when a bride is getting married, you know, they wear a veil over their face. Or another way to think about the veil is, of course, the bride is not tripping. She can't see where she's going. She can see super clear through the veil. Why? Because her eyes are like that far away from the veil. She can see through the little holes that are there. She's not on the other side of the veil, but it doesn't matter. She doesn't have to be on the other side of the veil. She can actually see everything that's on the other side of the veil because she's so close to it. So that is what is currently existing between your shadow self, meaning this physical body right here, and it's like, you know, I'm thinking it's more than just a shadow, but it's not really more than just a shadow. It's like you think you exist here as a shadow, and it's like you're trying to communicate. The shadow is trying to communicate, but it isn't the shadow. You've projected your awareness into the shadow, so to say. Not that you actually did it, because that's impossible, but you think you did. And the veil is like a thick brick wall that you can't see through when you're so far away from the veil. You know, I'm rambling, I know, but I'm trying to make a point. It's like a screen, a window screen. And if you remove the screen, people can see in your home. You can see out of your home. I mean, it's a clear window. It's easy to do that. But you put the screen in front of the window to keep out bugs and flies and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, the people on the outside, they can't really see inside your home unless you have it backlit. You can't see. But if you get closer to the screen, you can see. And the people inside the home, they don't have any problem seeing outside of the home, but the people outside can't see the inside. It's almost like obscure glass, you know, the mirrored glass that you can see through one side, but you can't see the other. And I don't know if you've ever done this, but if you got up to that mirrored glass and you put your hands like this around your eyes and you're touching the one-way glass, you can actually see into the room that the other people are peering out at you. So that's kind of like a veil. And the closer you get to that veil, the more transparent the other side is. So I want you to think about that, because while you're a physical human being, I don't even care if you're enlightened or you're super enlightened or you're Jesus, essentially. It doesn't matter who you are. As a human being, you are stuck on the other side of the veil. And there's not a damn thing you can do about it. Because as long as your heart is beating and pumping blood, I could say you're trapped, but yeah, I don't think that that's an appropriate term, since you actually chose to be here. So you can't say it is a trap. But if you are unaware, then that's another way of looking at it. You're trapped on this side of the veil and you can't see the other side. It doesn't matter what you do, or you can see the other side if you're spiritual enough, but you can't actually be on the other side of the veil. There's no way to actually be on the other side. But if you get close enough, like the bride being married, there's almost no difference from being there and here. Yeah, there's a barrier between you, but you can see super crystal clear because you're so close to it. That's what enlightenment is, or that's an aspect of enlightenment. This would explain why enlightened people are assumed to be significantly different than normal people. If you've ever met an enlightened person or you read about an enlightened person, you would understand that they are functioning on a different level. Meaning, I'm not talking about they're super intelligent or anything like that. They're just different. And if you're not aware of that difference, you're going to think that they have lost their mind, they're crazy, they're delusional, another way of looking at it is how in the hell are they coming up with ingenious concepts and ideas? And most people that are not intelligent enough would assume the enlightened person, to be insane or delusional or whatever. But then if you're around them enough and you start talking to them, you'll realize, well, no, they're not insane, but damn, they sure have a different outlook on life and reality. They see rainbows just like you do. But because they're so close to the veil, they see that the rainbow isn't real. They're looking at the other side of the veil and understanding crystal clear there is no such thing as a rainbow. That a rainbow is in fact a point of view. Now, mind you, in this illusory reality, there are no points. So all views from any point are not real. And you'll realize that when you get pretty damn close to the veil. You start seeing reality for what it truly is. You start seeing that once you become enlightened, you will always see the other side of the veil, and it will always reveal to you the reality that everyone else is existing in, but at the same time seeing the other side. But as I said, you're never going to lose contact with this physical side as long as you're alive. So you're going to see this in addition to that. I hope that's clearer than mud, but that's what I wanted to bring up. Another thing I wanted to bring up is a lot of times, well, almost all the times, people talk about karma, they talk about serving God, they talk about all kinds of things like that. I want to make something pretty damn clear by being super close to the veil and seeing what's on the other side. 100% of everything that not only happens to you, but things that you are attempting to do. I want you to recognize that it is impossible for you to do anything good for God. You cannot serve God. It's not possible. I don't know if I were to read and try to study the teachings of Jesus, did he ever really truly say to serve God in any capacity or form? But I'm telling you now today, you cannot serve God unless that particular God happens to be Shiva or Satan or some other God that isn't Brahma. But Brahma, you cannot serve. You cannot benefit Brahma in any way, shape, or form. Brahma is 100% complete and 100% love-based. And so Brahma does everything for you, and you do nothing for Brahma, because you can't do anything for Brahma. I mean, what do you give a God that has everything? You can't give that God anything. You can't serve that God. But kind of you can, kind of. And what I mean by that is if you change your paradigm thinking and realize that, like karma I talked about in a few minutes ago, if you think bad things are happening to you, and truly they could be bad, but you need to recognize that this isn't because God is punishing you. This isn't, when I say God, I'm always referring to the God that Jesus prayed to, always. So when these bad things are happening, and a lot of times they truly are bad, they're for your own benefit. I know that you think, just like I did at one time, that you think that, you don't need these benefits, you don't need these blessings, so to say. Checking the... but in fact you do, and that is why they're happening to you. God doesn't waste his time, her time, its time, on trite and trivial and ridiculous notions of punishment. That is like so disgusting to even think such a stupid thing, that God would concern him, her, itself with punishment because you did something wrong. No, God is always loving, always, because there's nothing you can do to harm God. You can only harm yourself, and you can't even harm others. Although, I mean, if you go kill someone, that harms them. But in a way, it doesn't, because it's like one shadow attacking another shadow. You've got the shadow puppet things, and then the shadow, I'm gonna kill you. It's like, well, did you really harm the other shadow? No, because the two hands here that are creating the shadows, I'm gonna bite you. They don't harm each other, even though it appears like they do in the shadow. Everything that's happening in the shadow form, which by the way, everyone in this world, unless you're enlightened, think that the shadows are real, and you think it's harming you, but instead it's sending a message back through the veil to the other side where you actually are, to teach you a lesson about something. Regardless of what it is, it's something. Does somebody need to learn a lesson about being murdered? Maybe they do, and it's extremely complex, because in some cases, a person that gets murdered. Now, I'm just throwing this out there, okay? In some cases, the victim has agreed to participate as a victim prior to being born into this physical shadow reality. And they did it because they sacrificed themselves so that another person could actually exercise their right to be evil. It is every bit as equal of a right to choose to be one with God as to choose to be an evil bastard that goes around killing people. And that can only happen in this physical reality realm, shadow reality. It can't happen anywhere else. But the things that take place here in the shadow realm are eternally consequential to your actual essence in how it develops. I hope I'm not rambling. I think the last point, and I really think this is the last point I want to make, is think about karma in a different way. It's like if you're driving a car, it's like take the gas pedal of a car, okay? And let's take the car itself. The car itself sits idle. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't go anywhere until the gas pedal is pushed down. But the gas pedal is being pushed down on one side of the veil, and the reaction to that is happening on the other side of the veil. So when you push down the gas pedal on the other side of the veil, the car speeds off, it does all kinds of crazy ass things. No different than the puppet show in a shadow box. It's like one thing is happening here, but it's appearing over there. And over there we think it's real because it's a person pressing down the gas pedal, or they are driving a car. It's not like you're reaching through the engine and you're putting your hands on the crankshaft and turning it. And no, you're just pressing down the gas pedal. And in most modern vehicles, the gas pedal isn't even attached to anything. It's just like an electrical resistor that sends the electrical signal to the gas pump that causes the gas to go into the engine. There's actually no physical connection between the two. That's like the veil scenario. And when you get up close to it, you can see through it. But the only way to get close to it is prayer, is study, is endlessly seeking to learn what's going on, to learn what people teach about spirituality. And there's so many sources. I think one last thing, and I've brought this up many times, and I'm going to do it again. It's like if you took a 100% amount of what it takes to become one with God. We'll circumscribe this and say this is 100%. 50% of that circle would equal 100% of everything you can derive from Eastern spirituality, meaning Hinduism, Buddhism, all the Vedas, what Krishna taught, Sanatana Dharma, and these things are wonderful. And then you add to that Christianity and all that it teaches, and you take all of these things. That's 50%. If you take all of that, that's 50% of what you need to discover to become one with God. And you can gain 100% in this lifetime or in this reality, but you're only going to get 50% by doing that. The other 50% appears to be like 1% to most people, but in fact it's 50%. And in many cases, what happens is the teachings of what I said, Hinduism, Christianity, all that, eventually that 50% starts reducing and reducing and reducing. The more you gain, the more it is reduced. And this other 50% that I haven't told you what it is yet, it gets larger and larger and larger, forcing out this and this and this. Not that you're losing the knowledge of what you gained by studying and all of this stuff. You're not losing it, but it is being transformed. It's like taking the pieces of the puzzle and actually assembling them. Prior to this 50%, none of these pieces are assembled correctly. They're there, and you may think they're assembled, but they're not. This over here, what is that 50%? It is so damn simple. It is like unbelievable, but it is extremely difficult to realize the benefits. And it is so simple and yet so difficult for most people, especially those from the Hindu, Buddhism, Eastern philosophy. It is so difficult for them to accomplish. And that is the simple, humble, loving communication via prayer to God. That's it. It is so simple, but yet so difficult for most people to do. They find it difficult to do because they don't feel worthy. And it's like, I'm telling you, you are worthy. I don't care what sins you think you've committed in your reality, whether they're real or not real, it doesn't matter. Recognize Jesus said all sins are forgivable. And it's not with the just flip of a hand. I mean, there are processes through going through repentance and everything that are not necessarily what the preachers teach you, but nevertheless, there are processes. But everything is forgivable. So you don't have to carry that heavy burden of guilt because of whatever it is. Just repent. Whatever it is, quit doing it. Train yourself to quit doing it. But prayer to God. That is the thing that grows like a mustard seed that Jesus spoke of and pushes out everything else. And eventually all of this stuff over here that you thought was so important, all the way up to spiritual enlightenment, all of this stuff that you thought was so important is reduced to zero eventually. And it's all filled 100% with the love of God, with prayer to God. How do you serve God without serving God? By doing exactly what I said, through prayer, humble, loving prayer, communication with Brahma. That's how you serve God. You're not serving God, you're only serving yourself. But in a way it is serving God, because when you become a loving follower of God, that is a blessing that you typically cannot understand to God. Because the only thing God cannot have is your love. God cannot have your love. The only way God gets your love is if you give it to God. And you can't fake that. That is something that is absolutely impossible to fake. You either do or you don't. And if you don't love God, then work on it. Work on loving God. Figure out how to... That's the whole part of learning all this 50% I told you. That's the whole emphasis there, is to learn about God, is to learn and then go into Christianity, then learn about God. Learn about the teachings of Jesus, which are so valuable to teach you the character traits of God. And as you do that, you can develop a love that in Hinduism is referred to as bhakti. And that expands and expands like the mustard seed until it is 100% consumed your entire being. And because of that, that is the one thing that God cannot have unless you offer it to God. That is the only thing that God cannot take or have. I hope that makes sense to you. And of course, when you get to that point, that is why you become one with God. You become one with God because you love God as much as God loves you. I know that may sound ridiculous, but that is the whole concept of becoming one with God. And of course, you can't become one with God with guilt, which is the process of the atonement that Jesus did, and the process of repentance and recognizing all these things and going through a lifetime of making yourself better, making yourself more worthy to receive constant input from the other side of the veil. It's not just you serving yourself. It's not just you seeking guidance from your other self, your essence. It's about you seeking guidance also, in addition, from your own essence, but from the creator of all realities everywhere, Brahma, the loving creator that has created everything. And now the last of the last of the last of the things. On my last video, I was talking about how you seek God, the truth of all things and everything, but I never mentioned the stumbling blocks, and I was going to, but I never did, so I'll just lightly touch upon it. And what I mean by stumbling blocks is people get false teachings. And where do they get false teachings? I will tell you, almost all the time. This is a common way to introduce corruption and false teaching into scriptures, into all kinds of teachings. Lots of people, you've probably watched YouTube videos, so you'll know what I'm talking about. A lot of people do what they call channeling. So they'll channel some sort of spirit. I mean, like my brother and I were talking about this a few weeks ago when I was visiting him. Anyways, there are people like, there's a super popular guy, and I got to tell you, he's interesting. But I think he goes by the name of Bashar, but there's a lot of people like him, by the way. And I think maybe Bashar is the name of the deity or the spirit or the alien or whatever he's channeling from. So is it fake? Is he making that stuff up? No, I highly doubt it. I think it's actually real what he's doing. And he actually is getting information from another realm, bridging that gap in the veil to get that information into here. But let me make this crystal clear. If you're not getting that information from Brahma, it's corrupt. You can pray to Christ, but Christ will always refer you to his Father in heaven, the person he prayed to. He will always refer you to Brahma. So if you're not getting that information from Brahma and you know the source is something other than Brahma, you can rest assured that it is corrupt. It isn't a pure truth. And in almost all cases, I would say that in one way or another, that Bashar is getting the truth that his truth, from Satan, essentially, via this entity that he channels from. So people that get information from another source other than Brahma, are introducing corruption. And that's where false teachings come from. And they're very compelling, because I've got to tell you, for reading and understanding and perusing different writings of ancient past enlightened masters, etc., people like this Bashar character, it's like, how in the heck did they get so much truth? Because like, you can't get this type of information in books and stuff like that, and yet what he's teaching is so closely aligned with truth in many, many ways that my brother and I were talking about it. It's like, okay, this is impossible. He can't, no human being gets this in-depth of spiritual knowledge without having a source outside of the human capacity, let's put it that way. And so, and since I know, I mean, I absolutely know he's not getting it from Brahma, and then I know it's corrupt. And is it evil? Yeah, probably. I mean, maybe 90% of it is truth and only 10% is evil, corruption. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Do I find it interesting though? Yeah, it's kind of interesting listening to this character spout a bunch of crazy stuff. When I say crazy, is it true? I don't know. Maybe some of it's true, but you know, for me, it doesn't bother me, because I mean, I know what the truth is instantly as I hear it. I know what the truth is. Anyways, that I'm going to close, and you know, it's been 2-3 weeks. I don't know. I've been out of town for a couple of weeks, and I've been damn busy working here on my home, doing more endless remodel stuff that it's like, I'm getting so tired of that. I want to do other things that I enjoy more. But anyways, I probably got another week or two before I'm done with this remodeling stuff. But I want to let you know I love you. I want to tell you I communicate via emails with several people that watch these videos. And I got to tell you, it almost brings tears to my eyes to see the progress of some of you over the past several years. It is absolutely shocking to me, the distance that you've gone. You may not even notice it in yourselves, or maybe you do. I don't know. But it's like if you visit let's say a relative, and they have a child or whatever, and then you go away and you don't visit them again for 10 years, and you go, holy moly, have you changed? Well, and then they'll go, what do you mean I didn't change? Well, that's what I'm noticing with a lot of you people that I communicate with. You've come a very long ways. It's shocking to me. I actually didn't think it was possible 10 years ago that I was doing any good in the world. It's like, if you were in my shoes, you would understand that when you feel this compelling urge, inspiration, love, it's like, why do I make the videos? I think initially I started making them because I spent 30 plus years of my life, 30, 40 years of my life struggling to find the truth and hearing so many cockamamie lies and everything, that it was like, man, oh man, I didn't like that. And it's like, well, then I'm going to make YouTube videos, and hopefully someone will get some sort of a modicum of truth out of it. And that's why I do it. And I hear from some of you every now and then, and it's like, am I enlightened? Well, yeah, but Does that mean I am not positively affected in my physical sense when people tell me of the progress and how they're coming along with the communications between me? I am absolutely affected. I am overjoyed that you are doing well. And the fact that you are and we love each other is like, well, I can only compare that to why I say you need to pray to Brahma, because I am sure that regardless of how advanced a god Brahma is, that this particular god feels the same capacity that I do when I love you, or if I love my children, or when I love my wife. I didn't mean to say if I love my children. I do love my children. And it's not some super nebulous, unfeeling, when I'm talking about this love that God has for you, it's not this standoffishness, this I'm better than anything in the existence. And no, it's very intimate. It's very loving. It's very raw. The feeling God has for those that love him dearly, as I'm hoping to get every one of you to get to that point. That's what my efforts are, is to attempt to get you to love in any way, shape, or form this deity God, Brahma, and then you will start feeling that love from Brahma. It may take decades and decades before you get some sort of feedback, but I'm telling you, it is worth it, a Googleplex beyond what you get with anything else. So I'm going to close and tell you I love you, and I hope to make another video soon on whatever subject. I have no idea. But I love you. I pray for you. I really hope that your life goes well in the future. And we will talk to you later.